Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. This is episode 35, I believe. And we didn't have an episode last week, but I'm making up for it. And we have an awesome guest today. I'm actually really excited. I've kind of like known them for a while now. Like here and there, we've been like seeing each other. But it's kind of cool to see that you're starting kind of like a solo music project. But today we have Viktoria XO.
I'm here.
You're here.
I've arrived. I'm here.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So this is really exciting because you just recently kind of started teasing stuff about this project you've been working on.
Right.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of, there's kind of a lot of mystery other than like, I'm like, it's music. I've seen you recording stuff and I'm like, I really just am curious. Like, I want to know more about it.
So I started writing a couple songs back in like 2019, I think, and I was like, fuck, I really need to do something with this. I wrote a whole album.
Okay.
I wrote a whole album, and I was like, I'm just gonna release an album. I'm gonna do some singles and some music videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna release a concept album. It's not gonna be this year, but
yeah.
I mean, things are coming very soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's even to stay away from the little, like, big things coming soon. But I do see, like, you actually, like, that's the old typical, like, big things coming. But I actually, like, you've, like, post, like, some, like, behind-the-scenes stuff, which is kind of cool because it kind of gets you excited. It's like, oh, they are doing stuff. Like, stuff is coming. You know what I mean? Like,
it's been a while. I've been working on, like, a couple singles, but, like, the first one, I've been working on it for probably since February or something.
Wow. Okay.
So it's been taking a while.
Yeah.
Because I'm very picky. I'm so fucking picky about, and I want it to be right. I want it to come out good, and so I'm doing everything I can. I'm taking like all the necessary steps to have a good debut release.
Yeah. Which is super important for especially like new artists, anyone in general. Like the release is something that it's no longer like, oh, you wrote a good song, yeah, just put it out, it's gonna do well. Like, oh, no. that doesn't work like that. Yeah, no. It's got to be an entire like production, which even just like on the teasers and stuff, like the pictures and like things that you've been like putting out for like the promotion of it are already like fitting into the type. Like, I don't know what the music is, but I'm like, I am like excited to like find out what like this is gonna look like and like what it's gonna sound like. So you said you like started writing all this stuff like back in 2019?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any specific like inspiration to finally write? Because I know you've been playing music for like a really long time.
Yeah. I was playing guitar for a little bit, and it's not my vibe. It's not my vibe. I'm not into it. There's been multiple situations that led up to writing the songs. Like the first two songs I wrote were just such a specific situation that had happened to me in like late 2018, 2019. And I was like, well, these are really nice. So I wrote an album around those songs.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm sure people can tell from the post, and I'm sure people know. It is a concept album, and it's circus themed. Mm-hmm. It's based around a circus and different characters in the circus and different performers, and I don't know. I think that's such a cool concept. Yeah. I think it's cool. I think it's fucking cool.
Yeah, I'm saying it's cool. Like, I mean, and you know, like the whole, like all of it. So like you're seeing the entire picture. And,
right.
So that's what I guess like trying to portray that to people in a way. I'm like wait till it all comes together.
Yeah, and it's very metaphorical. Like all of the songs, this shit happened to me. Yeah. Like it's super metaphorical though. I'm sure you know.
Okay.
I'm sure you know, and I'm sure a lot of people will know when I put it out, like what it's based around.
Referring to.
Right. A circus.
Yeah.
You know.
A circus. You got a lot of interesting characters in the circus, I'm sure.
You do. But it is based on a real place that I've been. and it felt like a circus, like just so much shit going on. And so I was like, I need to write about this.
Yeah.
I need to.
I need to. Yeah. So you're saying like, so guitar's not your vibe. So what kind of like instrumentation are you looking at like in this?
It's very, I mean, I'm sure people can tell it's very poppy. It's very, it's got some synth, I would think.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just not, it's over beats.
Okay.
And it's not like acoustic or anything like that, but it's over like pop, like dark pop, alt pop type beats.
Yeah. Okay. But that's kind of cool because you don't see a lot of... I'm just always interested when I see like something that's out of like the norm that I usually see around here, because you're right, like the old like your typical band or like everything that you're doing. So it's not something that I see too often from someone that I've seen perform and do like other musical projects. So it's a really cool turn, and that's why like I'm always excited. I'm like, oh, when is this like first song coming out? It's like I need to know what this sounds like. But do you? I'm sure you have like plenty of inspirations. I know you're a super big fan of like what is it, Sabrina Carpenter?
Oh, it's my wife. Yeah. What do you mean? Of course.
I always see it was like, oh, I know, like, and I was like, when I saw that, I was like, I'm pretty sure that was like probably a big like influence into jumping into something a little bit more pop, like pop.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, I would say and I keep saying this, I'm like, people are gonna know. Well, it's the vibes are like it's very. And I've already gotten it already from the photos.
Yeah.
A lot of my inspiration is drawn from Melanie Martinez and like very early Billie Eilish, early Halsey.
Okay.
I do love I like the artist Dodie, but I think it's just her visual aesthetics that are speaking to me. I love her music, but it's so different from mine that I wouldn't put that. I wouldn't involve that.
Yeah.
I don't involve that.
Musically, yeah.
Right. Yeah, definitely, like, I'm about to shoot a music video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, hold on.
Oh, it's... Well, no one told me it was this expensive, first of all. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Especially when, like, if you're... already in my head, just with, like, the visuals you talking about the circus and everything you put out, I'm like, this... Yeah, I can definitely see that being expensive.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, where am I going to get the budget for this? How am I going to find someone to eat fire? I found someone though.
I was going to say, oddly enough, I've ran into someone who eats fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In case you need a backup. I don't know, it might be.
It might be the same person. I don't know. But yeah, those are like the main inspirations, or like those for like Melanie, Billie, the main pop girlies.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of like what's inspiring you to kind of take that direction.
Right. Yeah.
But I guess like that the cool thing is that you're not only taking musical direction, it's also like visual direction.
I'm very extra.
Yeah.
I'm so extra. I need my visuals to be like top tier. My aesthetic. I love the vintage toy aesthetic. My collection's fucking huge. It's a problem, actually.
I have seen that. Like you got a lot of stuff, but like you like it's cool because like that's like one of your things. Like you like look for it, and you like know exactly what you're looking for, and it's super like awesome. I'm like, wow, like I didn't know like all this stuff like existed. First of all, yeah,
it's real, actually. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm super excited. I'm a little nervous, though. I'm definitely going to be accused. I can see it now in my head.
Yeah.
I'm already predicting it. I'm going to be accused of copying Melanie. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I love Melanie. She doesn't own anything.
Yeah.
She doesn't own the pastel aesthetic. I'm a little worried about that. But like other than that, I don't know. I think it's going to go well.
But like influence comes like Melanie got it from somewhere, and then whoever like it just cascades down. I feel like, and there's a difference, I think, besides like blatantly copying, and most of it is just like, yeah, like I love the way this looked and made me feel like I want to do something like that, you know what I mean? But it's still going to be different because it's through your lens, you know what I mean? It's not the exact, you know, whatever songs, you know, Melanie was writing about, it's not what you're going to be writing about. Exactly. It's completely different situations. It's your take on whatever your own like experiences are. And then aesthetically, like, you know what you want it to look like. So you, if it looks like something else, and there's a lot, that's one of my, like, it's probably one of like my annoying habits, is that I do that a lot, is that I'll point out and be like, oh, that sounds like this, or this looks like that. And I'm normally not like, oh, they copied it. It was like, that's cool. Like, I'm always like, I wonder if they did that like intentionally or not intentionally. Because a lot of times, even when I was like writing music, I would later on realize that I wrote something, a melody. I'm like, that's from like this thing that I heard, and I was, and I wasn't like trying to copy it or do anything, but I was listening to it so much, or it was in there somewhere, that I'm like, oh, this kind of sounds good. And it was just like maybe a few lines, even like a few words sometimes, and I'm like, that's where that came from. Okay, like sometimes you don't have like real control over like how do you know like where you got any of your ideas in your head? Like, are they? It's always that question of like, is there like original ideas anymore, or is it just like all an amalgamation of influences?
No. The funniest shit happened. So I went to the studio to record one of the songs, and you know, I have this thing. I can't write melodies. I can't do it. Okay. So I had this beat that I had like gotten on YouTube. It's a really popular fucking beat. So I'm like, okay, other people are gonna have it, but you know what? I don't care. So I record it, and one of my friends is there, and a couple nights later, she sends me this TikTok, and this artist used the same beat, and I'm like, okay, and it gets to like the chorus, and it's the same fucking melody, and I was like, I can't release this.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna get sued. Like, I can't release this. So I had to go back to the studio and rewrite the whole fucking chorus, and it was super annoying, but I'm just like, how does that... What the fuck was that?
What the fuck just happened? These are new, okay.
That's a sign.
That's a sign. It's a good thing you went back and rewrote that chorus.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not going to jail.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I had to go back, and I had to rewrite it, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not as good, but at least I'm not going to get sued.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want that.
But you got to look at that and like organically two separate people who like don't know each other like wrote the same melody. Right. And like it is possible, as much as it seems really weird and like coincidence like, and like how are you gonna write the same melody? But like it happens a lot, and it's like two people will have the same idea, you know, as even like it is trying to be original. It's your responsibility as an artist to try to, if you, like, for instance, you found out that you, like, had written something. If not, then it's like... Yeah, exactly. Like, which I wonder a lot of times when I see those, like, lawsuit, like, things are like, oh, like, this melody was, like, written like this. And I'm like, oh, like, that sucks. If, like, how do you know that? Right. Like, I don't know if people blatantly do it. I mean, I don't know when they see, like, producers doing it and stuff. I'm like, was that, like, a blatant ripoff or something? Like, that they were trying not to get caught? Or it is just two people come up with a similar idea?
Like, that shit tripped me out because it was exact. And I was like... How does this happen?
Yeah.
I don't, like, it's the same beat, but, like, that melody was identical. And I was like, no, I don't need this in my life. I need to go, like, this has to go.
It's like, I'm just starting. I can't get sued right off the bat.
Right. It was the first one I wrote, like, back in 2019.
Oh, my gosh.
And this girl had released it, like, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out like 2 weeks after it was released, and I was like, fuck, like,
it's like
scrap, like, it has to go, like, it has to be scrapped or rewritten. And so we ended up rewriting it because I was like, this is a very important song.
Yeah,
it's important to me. I mean, all of them are, but I don't know.
That one, it's like they all have their merit and like what you want to put out. It's like, which would be shitty for like someone to come back later. It's like I wrote that first, and like, you gotta. No. It's like and then you have to go through all that mess or whatnot. It's like, no, let's just keep that out of it. But you say you have a hard time writing melodies?
I do. It's bad.
Why?
To To be honest, I don't have an ear for it. There's some things I just don't have a fucking ear for. I don't have an ear for melodies. It's super hard. But I have found that, especially with guitar songs, I'm like, how do you pull that out of your ass? I don't understand. I don't get it. So it's so much easier for me to write over beats instead of me writing something and someone build a beat around it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
that is interesting. When I was playing in a band, I realized like, oh, like I've never written something and then had the band be like, this is what I want you to do, kind of thing. Like, I'm like, it seems a lot more complicated. I mean, people do it, but again, I think it's like a talent to be able to do that. And I think people who write that way are still writing the music behind it and kind of understand, like, I guess what they want to do. But it is like, it seems super difficult. But yeah, writing like any instrumentation, like, has never been like my forte. I can play instruments, but like when it comes to writing original things, I'm like, that's so insane. And like, I'm working on a new project recently, and then our guitar player keeps sending me like ideas, and I'm like listening to them, and I'm like, how is this coming out of someone's brain? You know what I mean? Like, it's just any like obviously like any like musician, like I have the same kind of thought like when I start to really think about it, and I'm like, how did you decide like this is what was coming next? But I guess it's similar to like when you write like vocals and stuff like that, I guess, is like, okay, like, you know, because I'll get the same like kind of conversation from them, and it's like, how did you like decide to go from here to there? I was like, I don't know, it was just in there. You know what I mean?
It flew out.
Takes a lot of just like humming and singing in the car and stuff like that.
All my songs were, well, not all, but like 9 out of the 11 songs that was probably a really bad like ratio to choose.
Oh no, the album's a conspiracy.
That was so
what
bad.
are you telling us, okay?
Yeah, most of them were written in my car. I was driving. I'm sorry.
This is gonna be an album, and never forget. Sorry, that's terrible. Oh no.
That was so bad.
That was bad. I outbatted it, so it's not too bad for you.
Anyway, most of the songs were written in my car as I was driving, and I don't know, they just come along.
Yeah,
they just come along.
I feel like that's my most comfortable place to write is in the car, because I'm like, it's just me. I go, there's people are driving, doing their own thing. I can be as loud as I want to.
Yeah, nobody's gonna complain.
No, exactly. Like here, I'm always like, even like I've tried to like practice stuff here, and it's not even like, because before it was like my metalcore band or whatnot, and now it's like super like nice singing stuff, and I still won't do it here because I'm like, what if there's gonna be one person that's like, hey, shut up? Like, I'm like, yeah, like no one's gonna tell me to shut up in my car. Like it's too loud on the freeway, ma'am. It's fine.
Exactly.
Can't hear it.
Absolutely.
But that's cool. That's cool that you like at least acknowledge like some of the writing you get to do, like in the car. Do you, as far as lyrical content, you said it's a lot of like just situations that happen.
Yeah.
And then kind of written around them.
Yeah.
I know, like, I don't think you want to go into them because I think it's gonna give away like what you kind of like are writing about, and I'd rather experience it that way. But without going into specifics, you said it was situation. Is it like something like from a long time back, or was it really during that like 2019 period?
So the record takes place between there is one song about my childhood, and then there's another one, and it's like it goes in order. So the first one is about my childhood, and then the second one is about my teenage years, and so is the third one. It's basically about like the third track is just like wanting to get out of your hometown. And so it, and then from like track 4 to 11, it's from like 2017 to mid 2019, I would say. Okay. So
it kind of goes in order. So it's a little bit of a early like biopic stuff, but a lot of like the more recent events kind of later on. Yeah. Because you're originally from Louisiana?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm from Louisiana.
That's the hometown.
Well, there it is.
Hey, you're not there. Nope. But all right, it's just like so. That definitely sounds interesting to see. It tackling those earlier kind of songs are very interesting because you have to tap into something that you aren't anymore, or some of the stuff is still lingering kind of there. Does that did that like you think like took a little toll, or like did that kind of wanted to write those and get them out? Because I noticed that there's like way less of those, like the earlier ones, than they are like now.
Yeah, no, that one came a little later. And that song, it's because the record is based around a circus, but like the first 2 tracks are more so like what's leading up to that. So it's not really like circus based. And it was written a while back, probably like 2020, I think. And it was one of those songs that just like came out and it was just finished in like 2 or 3 hours. Like it had like came out like super easy. And I was like, well, you know, I could put that at the beginning of the album. I could put that at the beginning. And it'll still kind of flow with the rest of the album.
The way it kind of goes in order.
Yeah.
What do you think has to do with like those songs that just like kind of just flow out versus the ones that like take a little bit more time to kind of get the idea fleshed out?
I don't know, because, you know, like some of them, it took me a while, like especially with like bridges. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck did I put there? Some take a while, and then some just like come out, and I don't know.
I've always wondered that, because I've had instances of songs where I'm like, I'll sit there and I have nothing like for this like at all, and the idea always will come at a random point, and it's usually that in the car, and it's usually like, oh, there's finally I have something, and I'll like take one idea out of it. But I've had instances where I know one of the songs that I wrote a melody, because it's funny because that's the opposite. Like that's the one thing I am good at. Like, and I'm like, I'll figure out the rest later. And I wrote one word to it, and I'm like, okay. And I finally sat down. I'm like, I'm gonna write this today, which has never worked in my experience of like, I'm gonna write a song today. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
But I sat there, and it took in about an hour. Like, I had written an entire song, like chorus, verses, and like the bridge and everything. I'm like, I don't know how this happened, and I like had to send it out and be like, I was like, is this good? Like, because I just wrote it, like it feels too good right now, and it's literally like one of my favorite songs. But then like there's other ones where it takes a little longer like to get it, but I don't know, like I there's no real explanation to it, because I've had good experiences with both, like stuff that I had to work really hard for and then it ended up like paying off, and then stuff that happened like just super naturally. Right. So I don't know which one like I kind of prefer. No, I would prefer the easy ones. But of course. But they're both kind of nice, and it's interesting to see other people work. So this stuff is all solo. Are you looking to maybe like in the future stuff like work with like other artists and stuff?
Well, I know to play live shows, I do kind of want, obviously, a band, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I would like a keyboard player, guitarist, drummer. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's a rapper that's been wanting to feature on a song or some shit like that. I don't know. We'll see.
It's like, we'll see.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm open to it. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm so particular with what I want to do. And I'm not the type of person, I can't compromise. I can't do it. Like, I'm very particular. So, I mean, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that double-edged sword where like, yeah, it's nice because I get to put out exactly like what I want to put out, and then it's like when it comes to like working with others, like, oh, it's really hard. Like I don't want to change anything up. I've just like what I've been doing like recently in the past few months is just like kind of hanging out other people's writing sessions just to see like what they're writing, like not to like add anything or anything, but I take a lot of. I realized like I started to notice a lot of my songs sounded the same, and I'm like, I was like, oh, like I'm getting my like everything is structuring out the same way. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, how do other people? And like I was like, and didn't go with the same genre. I'm like, oh, I hung out with my friend Dizzy Davis who raps, and his writing style is like he's on it 100%. Yeah. He's like, I come in, it's like he comes in and he'll do like 3 songs in a night, and I'm like, oh, did you have those written? Goodness. No, like I had like
idea, he like usually will write a line and write the rest off of it. Like off something. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, and I was like, how do these make sense? Like they're coherent. Like they flow. They're well. And then I was seeing. I was in when my friend Ryker Hall was recording his album.
I love Ryker.
Yeah, so
I played a show with him.
Yeah, he recorded here with Daniel. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. So I was here, and like him, I got to do like some of like the gang backing vocals and stuff like that. But seeing the way he writes and put his album together, and how he structured that, like allows you to kind of take a lot of that writing style back and kind of gets you out of your little ruts and stuff. So it's definitely a really good experience to do. But live shows, probably think you're probably a little bit away from doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, let me get this music out.
Yeah. I know I definitely want to release at least probably 2 songs. I don't mind playing stuff before it's released, because I like, who the fuck is gonna remember?
Yeah.
Like, that sounds very self-deprecating, but like, who the fuck is gonna remember?
It's true though. It is one thing you notice when you go to shows and find new artists that I'm like, oh, it's the first time I'm hearing them live. It sounds great. I wish I knew the music. Like, so because it's just, once you like have, even if you knew that one song, during that one song, like, oh, I can participate here.
Yeah.
Like, I can like sing this back. I know what's coming next. I want to hear so it's good experiences in both. But as far as like trying to stay in people's radars and stuff, it's like, if you have music for them to listen to beforehand, and then come to the show and be like, oh, okay, like it. And even then, even still, like, even if you're playing to new people who haven't heard you, like, unfortunately I've had artists where I'll listen to them live and then like, oh, okay, what do you guys have? Like, oh, we don't have anything out yet. Oh, okay, cool. Like, let me know. And then sometimes I'll forget and I'm like, not like remember to look them up later or when that was coming out.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that.
Exactly,
I don't want to do that.
And it sucks as an artist that's just starting out. Like, that's one of the biggest things. Like, any one of those people that is hearing you need to be able to take advantage. And like, how do I keep them coming back and listening to more stuff?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely want to have a couple songs out before I even begin to start.
Yeah, and you got plenty of time to. It's like luckily, you're doing one thing that not a lot of people do, and is prep everything kind of beforehand. And it's got to be tough because since you have a whole album like done, and just holding on to that until it's ready, it's got to be tough.
Yeah, it's been super difficult, but that's one thing that it irritates the hell out of me when people don't treat their music like, I guess, a business, and it's so irritating. And then they sit there and they bitch and complain about, like, why aren't we going anywhere? Look what you're doing. Yeah. Not shit.
It's,
nobody treats their band like a business, or their music. I should have not said that.
But it's I can tell it's difficult, like, if you don't get into that mindset. Yeah. Because for a while, like, I was always in the mindset, like, I'm an artist. I'm just writing this, blah, blah, blah. And then I forgot then it's like, it's hard, but I can't really complain if it doesn't do well. If all I'm worried about is writing music, I'm like, as much as like I want to know how like special I am for writing music and that, I go, everybody's doing it. Like, you have like the market is completely saturated with music.
I said that last night.
Like, like it's with good music. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, there's tons of music everywhere. There's like great artists. There's great people doing great stuff. But the ones you hear about, like, are the ones that, unfortunately these days, like, have to be able to create their own. Whether it's different ways to do it, will create their own following by either production stuff, the way you release things, like an online presence, kind of is probably one of the bane of people's existence, is like making sure that they're like posting stuff, things like that. But I also do think it's really cool to look at it that way and be like, okay, this is not only music, like it's an entire like experience to look at it. And you can still get like your artist kind of out and be like, okay, like, let's just spread it to everything else. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't do the visuals for it, then like get to know people that like can like help you out and do like visuals for you, and kind of get your same vision that you're trying to put out with your music as like out on like visual stuff. If you need help with like social, it is a ton of stuff. Like, once you start looking at it and what you need to do, and this whole like TikTok era of music is like insane how these people are like blowing up, but it works. And it's just the thing I've just been noticing. I don't know if you like
want to comment on it, but I saw like a few people now come out and kind of complain about the whole like TikTok thing. So I saw like Halsey did it like recently,
I saw
and it was like
too.
they couldn't like release something until they had a certain video go viral or something like that. How do you like feel about like labels like now getting involved in that?
I don't know. I don't really like labels. Because they're like, we're going to give you a bunch of money to do this, but you got to pay it back. And then they're so, I mean, I wouldn't fucking know, but just from what I've heard, they're super controlling, and I'm the type of person, I'm not compromising on shit.
Yeah.
I don't want, like, I'm not doing it.
That's why, like, people who kind of champion, like, independent artists and, like, making sure you know how to do everything or know somebody to do everything so you can keep a label out. I've heard very rare good label deals.
Right.
Like, they're really, like, they're very rare. And it's kind of like I remember, it's just probably a while ago now, but I remember there's a band around here called Backwards who did was signed on with Stay Sick Recordings, but they still ended up releasing like as a self-release. I think all they got was like distribution, but they got like a moderate amount of money, not anything like crazy extravagant. And I'm like, oh, okay, so some of them will like kind of work with you, but again, it's also figuring out what do you need the label for. Like other than like it's a lot of, I think, connections to people, which if you're good at making those on your own, then like what's the label gonna help with? You know what I mean? Like other than pressuring you to write a certain way, and then once you get into like pressure is like, oh, the kind of, I feel like every one of them have like a specific formula and producer that they go to. It's like, oh, we're gonna write this type of music. This is who we're sending you to, and you have to work with them. And everything just about that, like, kind of, I was like, why? Like, other than like you wanting to be successful, maybe like is why you would go. But the artist in me will always be like, oh, like, I don't know if I could do that, like, and like change what I wrote. Like, I had somebody do that when we recorded in the studio, and like the engineer was trying to like, someone's like, oh, you should do this, and I'm like, no, like, like I didn't come here for this. I get a collaborative effort, sure, but like we didn't go in with the idea of like having someone write with us. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, like, no, okay, this is cool, I appreciate it, but you know, that's not what I'm looking for, kind of.
Not at all.
But yeah, that's got to be super hard for people who are. Now getting pressured to like have I feel like it takes like the whole like soul out of like writing music and putting stuff out.
Yeah, I think it's fucking lame.
Yeah, and it's so like, I don't know. I think it takes like big corporation label shit to like make anything like lame. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like oh, before it was like, oh, cool, people are blowing up their music organically just by like making silly videos to like their music. Cool. Like I appreciate it. That's just the world doing that myself. But now it's like someone's telling you, it's like, oh, you know what, can you make a dance or something like this and that for it to blow up? And I'm like, oh, okay, like I don't know, like I don't know about that.
It's like Halsey needs that. Like look at their fan base.
I don't understand that. That's what didn't make sense, because like the artists that were coming out, I'm like, they are gonna hit like no matter what. Like it's crazy. Like or like they're gonna like someone will make that drive for them, like that viral, like whatever they want. Like I don't understand. I feel like they just need to put out music. Yeah. And it's like, and worried about everything else, and like, and then the internet will take over. Like
exactly, like it always does.
It always does. It always does. Yeah, you've seen like a bunch of people like blow up and have like successes overnight. And it's again, that's one of those things that's kind of scary too, because if you don't have a follow up to anything, like the immediate drop off must be like terrifying. Yeah. Of like blowing up one song and then, oh, I have nothing else.
Yeah, and that's happened to a lot of people.
A lot of people. Because it's, a lot of people are single based. Like, let's just drop single at a time, which I've been more advocating for smaller artists to release more singles at a time. But just because of the fact that like dropping an album or an EP or anything like that out of nowhere, but these are people who aren't like prepping like the release or anything like that, and dropping an EP out of nowhere, like all that hard work like goes away so quickly.
Right. And well, see, my producer, he's like, you should just do all of the songs on the album as singles. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, I don't think I want to do that. I because there's 11 tracks on the album, and I think, gosh, a lot of them would be okay as singles. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm kind of open to it, but I don't want to release them all as singles and then be like, here's the album, you've already fucking heard it.
Yeah, so I ran into that with one band, and I listened to, they dropped a single, I think it was one every 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, but the album came out, and I'm like, I don't know if I was just a big enough fan where I still enjoyed listening to all of it all the way through, and I still did, but I don't know how much that, I was like, am I in the majority or the minority of that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would someone just be like, oh, they released the last song with the album,
right?
I'm just gonna listen to the last song now. Like, how would that affect like anything? So, on the other hand, for a smaller artist, I see like, so I'm looking at 11 songs. I'm like, that means your name could stay out in like the internet or whatever, like among people's heads throughout an entire year.
Right.
Like if you space those out correctly.
Right.
I'm like, so what? So there is like, I guess stuff you have to balance out, and the whole experience of the album. Like, it's probably a lot nicer like to listen to these like in the right order that they're supposed to, like all together after the other.
Yeah.
But then also looking at like what's going to help you out more when it comes to getting people to go to those shows and stuff like that. Is it maintaining kind of like relevancy and like, you know, your name out there throughout a whole year more beneficial? And it's kind of that whole artist versus business kind of like battle.
Yeah. No. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm almost done writing a second album.
Oh my god.
Fucking crazy. Well, I started.
Oh my god, that sounds gross.
I started.
Damn, old man cough.
I mean, I've finished writing the first album probably like earlier this year, and I had written a couple other songs, and I was like, well, you know, do a second album. I'm gonna start writing. I don't have shit else to do. It's already written. All I gotta do is record it, do all the fucking visual shit.
Yeah.
Which that's happening soon. It's expensive.
What's the most expensive part you're looking at? Probably all as a whole, but I mean,
the probably the cinematography team. Yeah, because he's like,
oh, there's a team.
Oh yeah. That's what
I've only worked with one.
This is the shit. So we show up for the second meeting at this coffee shop, and he pulls up his laptop. He's got a fucking spreadsheet.
Holy shit.
Like a Microsoft Word. I don't fucking know. It's a spreadsheet, and he starts writing. It's like a chart, and he's like, okay, and it was writing all these costs, and he's like, well, this, like, he's so like professional with it. Like I've never fucking seen that, like a whole spreadsheet. And he's like, okay, well, you know, me and my team, and there's like 5 people on the fucking team.
Whoa.
I'm like, oh, you're like all in with this.
Yeah.
And he's like, if we need to rent equipment, and I'm like, this is a lot. This is a lot. But I mean, his work is great.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna look really fucking good, and I think we're gonna shoot it at the Post.
Oh yeah, Daniel's telling me that you might shoot it there.
Yeah.
That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, we're going next Monday to do a little walk around.
I'm gonna cameo randomly out of the bathroom. Just like, oh shit.
Wait, do you work there?
No, I just like DJ works there. I'm just like I'm always showing up.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
This is like, whoops, music video today. Oh my bad.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a big fucking deal. And someone I know, he was like, why are you doing all this? And I'm like, why am I not doing all like this isn't, no offense to metal, I love it, it's one of my favorite genres. You can't just go to like a fucking abandoned building and set up a camera and your instruments and play, and that's your music video. Like, this is, pop music is completely different, and it's so saturated. It's saturated. I feel more than metal is.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
definitely.
I'm like, I have to be super extra with this. I'm extra anyways, but like, this has to be this huge out of the box thing. He's like, well, what's your first one? I don't care. It's my first one. Yeah. Like, I'm doing
that's what they're going to notice is like, this is the first one, and this is the effort like putting into this. Like, it's going to entice people to be like, to stick around. Like, what the hell else like am I going to see here? You know what I mean? After this. And it's just, I mean, why half-ass something? Like, especially if it's something that you like love and like writing music. Like, you might as well like put everything into it. Like,
I'm not half-assing anything.
And it's one thing I've come to like learn and like kind of see everything, because I used to just be like, oh, we just need to do stuff and put it out. And then the more I've like seen other like bands and just my own experiences, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have put more effort into this. Like, it would have made me feel better like about these things. And that's when I started looking more like, oh, it's more than just music. Like, it takes all. It's like pretty. It can't be. And also not being afraid of like chasing the vision that you want for it, because at the end of the day, if you half-ass it, you are gonna know that like the entire time, and you're like, this could have been better had I taken the time to like even meet with like the team before like that, because like the music video that we did because the guy offered us a deal, you know what I mean? He was like, oh, it's cheap on this time. I'm like, sure. And I had a whole like 2-day shoot plan. Yeah. And like, it was like, oh yeah, if you had something like this, like it probably would have been better. Like we would have met and done like a storyboard and stuff like that. And I'm like, and that day, all we did was like improvise stuff and like figure it out on the fly, like locations and things like that. Just the fact of like, oh, we have to drive to these separate places like to get shots done, and everything kind of, it turned out pretty good for like what we ended up doing. But even him, he was like, he's like, next time, like if we work together again, he's like, just let me know, like, and this would have, like, I could have done so much better for you. Yeah. He's like, and he worked super hard, and he was super good, and it was just him, and he had rented all his equipment. Yeah. He put a lot of like work in for us, and I appreciate him to this day. But even stuff like that, I'm like, oh, like I would have been probably happier had I like planned all this out a little bit better. Even like the release of when we released music, I'm like, oh, like it would have been cooler to do this. And I had ideas, but I lacked a little of the motivation because I was intimidated about doing some of the stuff. Because like when we were releasing the album, I was like, oh, like I want to do like these art pieces and stuff like for each one of the singles, like to describe it. And I had like all these ideas, but like I was like, oh, it's gonna be dumb. No one's gonna like it. Instead of just being like, I want to do that. Like, why not like create it, and whatever happens out of it. I would have been way happier with something that maybe wouldn't have worked, but I still would have put the idea that I actually had to, instead of now just being like, oh, well, I had an idea, but like it would have been cool. It's like, who gives a fuck? It didn't happen.
Who fucking cares anymore? Like, no, I had the same idea. I just hired an artist to do art pieces for each of the songs.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, and I was like, it'd be kind of sick for like, and they do, he does like animations too with them.
Oh.
Charging a lot less than he should be.
Don't tell him. He's like, we don't renegotiate.
Right. And, I thought it'd be super sick for like the backgrounds on Spotify or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. I don't know. I'm leaving that to our producer. He's doing all that shit for me because I don't know how to do that. But yeah, I'm like, he started on the first two a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, this is cool. Mm-hmm. Like, this is fun. Yeah. Like, it's fun. Like, it's not a lot of people do shit like that. Mm-hmm. They just release it, and it's that.
And all these little like things that might seem small, like in the grand scheme of it, are all things that separate you from whoever else is releasing stuff. I go, they don't have to be anything crazy. I go, but if it's an idea that you have that, again, somebody else doesn't do, it automatically puts you above people for like, to cut through that noise because you have that little bit of extra stuff. It might be that, if it's something scrolls on Spotify and it's got a little graphic to it that's moving and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I maybe like just for a few more seconds, take a look at that and watch that. At the same time, listening to whatever song's playing, be like, I might stick around for that song longer. Right. It's kind of weird, and I hate that. Like sometimes I'll do it, but I'll like judge like songs based on like what the art looks like sometimes.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, okay, like no, I'm probably not gonna like that, like and then I'll have to be like, okay, go back and like listen to some stuff. But I mean, the majority of people, like if you're not an artist, you're not thinking about that stuff. You're just like, if you're just a regular like consumer and things like that, you're just like, your first reactions to stuff, like what's catching your attention, like what am I sticking around for, and any one of those little things is gonna set you apart. Whether they're looking at those art pieces, like come across it on their Instagram and Explore page and be like, oh, what is this? And then like let me like little things like that again help you cut through the noise. And I don't think people really pay attention to like that stuff. And like, again, a lot of them, like, people were stuck in the artist mentality, and I completely get that. Completely get wanting to I just want to write music and this and that. But then when you look at the market and look at everything else, like, you can't really complain about like, hey, my stuff's not getting played, because that's unfortunately, like, that's one of the big things that's going on. Like, you have to be able to cut through like the noise. Like, there's so much music in general, and so much of it is good too. Like, so how are you going to stand out for them just to get that second listen? You know, everybody that you've seen like perform, you know, live that has made it has had something like that set them apart. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, and I talk about that all the fucking time.
Yeah, I was looking at that in like at So What this weekend, looking at all these artists and things like that, and I'm like, they didn't just come out of here like out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, they had something that separated them, whatever it was. Like, there was so many. You know what I mean?
Do not get me started on Palais Royale. Ooh. They were so like, I don't even remember the music. That their set was probably the best. It was the best of I think it was day one. Yeah. In my opinion, it was like they have their own like aesthetic, and it's super sick. And the vocalist was like, he jumped off stage, like it was fun. Yeah. Like, they were so fun to watch, and they have a huge fan base, by the way. Like, it's crazy how hard their fan base works. I had posted a photo I took of them, and it's got 1,000 likes.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm like, their fan base is crazy. Yeah. And I'm like, this is a lot. I don't get that many likes. Like,
it's like, how do you create those? You know what I mean? How do you get the fan base that's loyal? And it's, if you're consistently doing things and creating things for, I mean, those are the people that are going to enjoy it, you know what I mean? Like, and then if they appreciate the stuff that you're putting out, music, anything extra that you do, your live performances, if you do add anything to it. What I actually saw on TikTok before I saw them. I didn't get to catch the set. I saw a little bit, but This Is Wildlife. Like, we're making that
about to say
that giant like Game Boy. Like,
yes, the Game Boy Color.
Like, I saw it. It's funny because I literally the day before they played I think they played day 2, day 3. I can't remember.
I think it was day 2.
Yeah, but I had ran into the TikTok before where he's like showing how he's building it. I'm like, oh my god, like that and all the graphics they made specifically for the set. But they do that a lot because like that's how I. And then so that's one thing that I ended up following them for before I heard their music. Okay. I heard it because I think they build a lot of their sets like that. They do. And I think I ran into one of the videos where they were building a set piece. So I followed them for that reason, and then was like, oh, they do music? Like, it's like, oh, they're a band. Like, oh, okay. And then I started listening to them.
Right.
So again, it's one of the extra things that I didn't run into their music organically. It was because of like something else that they were doing and showed off.
Me too, because this was, oh my god, they've been a band for a little bit. And I remember being like 14, 15 years old, and I got a DM on Twitter from one of them, and it was just like, hey, I saw you're going to Warped Tour, check out my band, la la la. And I think it was their first Warped Tour they played. I'm pretty sure, like, they were to a point where they were like walking outside with their little signs, like, come to our set type shit. And like, they reached out to me, and I was like, and they've been one of my favorite bands since. Yeah. Like, they're great. They're really good, and they were super good about building up their fan base like that. And I think that's really cool that they've come like so far from DMing random people on Twitter, like, I saw you're going to Warped Tour, watch my set, please. Like, that's, I don't know, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me.
It's crazy, but it's stuff like that, again, like at the time, think about like that still takes effort. You're finding out specifically through cities like where they're going, and like it's like, oh, okay, like let me message some people out. That still takes that's still time out of like someone's day that they're actually sitting down there to send message and stuff like that. Because I remember getting like I forgot who messaged me. I think it was like Emerosas a long time ago. It was like when we were in MySpace days, and they're like send something, and they were like I think they were coming on tour, and they saw, I don't know how, like they were searching and stuff, but I think I had one of their songs on like the profile or whatever, and they were like, oh, like you like this, like we're coming through this town. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, cool. And I kept that like message for like forever, and I went, you know what I mean? I went to the show. But it's figuring out those type of things. Now the same thing, you can't cookie cutter it and be like, oh, like everybody, like let me just copy what somebody else is doing again and recycle it for my, like it depends on whatever circumstance, like what it's going to actually, help. A lot of interacting with your with your fan base is a big deal. Like,
that.
yeah, like anything, like that's why, like, you know, live like videos are great. Like when like live streams, like when you just like they just live stream, like just talk to them. I'm like, oh, what? It's a little.
I love
like,
that.
Yeah, those. I feel like that's great because it puts you again connected to the people that actually like are enjoying your music. You know what I mean? And like gets there's nothing better for creating a fan base than adding that personal connection.
I love that. I love that. Like Sabrina's she's so personal with her fans, and you know, I've met her a couple times. She's literally the fucking sweetest.
Low key flex.
It's a high key flex, actually. No, she's the sweetest. She is so fucking nice. She follows her fans back on Twitter. I do have that follow.
Wow.
And she'll comment on fans' Instagram posts, and she's so personable. And I like, besides the fact she's fine as fuck. Whatever. Let's
put it out
aside.
there. Right?
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, everyone knows. Let's put that aside. It makes you feel so much more connected to an artist when they're like, they connect with their fans, and I really like that about her. I really like that.
I like that this like with the way like everything has progressed, with social media has progressed and stuff. It now allows for that, you know, because before it was like, oh, if you happen to get like one of the meet and greet stuff or get early enough to like go see them and talk to them for a few, but this one gives you, you know, the access to be able to, hey, like I can't come out to everybody and talk to everybody, but like, oh, you get these moments where again it adds that connection, and you get to see the people who are creating the music that you love, and like, oh, what do they actually like, you know what I mean? That's one of the reasons why I wanted to keep this going. It's like, because this initially just started because the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns like festival that we threw, and I'm like, I just want to like let me do like 6 episodes of like artists that are gonna play, help promote the festival. Right. And once I did it, I'm like, there's not something like this like at the moment, like that I can see consistently being done with like. I was like, there's so many like local artists like around here that are good, that are not only like are they good, and it's like, what can I do like to help them promote themselves, but not only that, like you get to see your art, like these artists that you might know of, you might not know of, but see what they're actually like, you know, like talking. And I that's why that's why before, like a lot of people used to ask, like, oh, like, you know, I think someone one time asked me for like, oh, can you send me over like a list of your interview questions? And I'm like, I don't have one. Like, it's not an interview.
What is that?
I'm like, I just literally, we're just going to sit here and we're just going to talk about, you know, whatever, if it's your music, if it's this and that. I go, but I wanted to create something like that adds, so you can see these artists like personalities, and be able to like relate to them. Where I'm like, oh, if you wouldn't have came up to them before because maybe they seem intimidating or something like that, if you see them on here, like it gives you still that, you know, that relatability to them, where you're like, you know what? Like, oh, like, we have some stuff in common. That's cool. Like, I can comment on this. Like, oh, I was wondering, like, why they wrote this song. Like, oh, now it kind of confirms it. Now I can kind of, like, talk to them about that. Again, just to be able to maybe encourage that one person who maybe wants to see this music, but like, okay, maybe that's the thing that'll push me over the edge to actually go out to a show or you know, go and go see these people live, or, you know, go listen to the music if you haven't before, or revisit it, or, you know, anything like that. But it adds that personal touch, because I remember just watching like podcasts. I used to love, my favorite thing to watch were always like studio vlogs of like anybody like doing like music. And I'm like, oh, because they're acting like, most of the time it's like people acting like idiots. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like they're putting out this music. I go, it brings you back to like, oh, they're just people. Like that's just.
Oh yeah, I talked about this the other day with one of my favorite bands, Spite. Dude, their vocalist Darius, he is on stage. He's fucking scary. Yeah, he's fucking scary. But like off stage, he is a sweetheart. Yeah, it's a complete opposite. It's wild, because I was on a tour with them. Well, not with them, but it was the same tour package. Like back in 2017, and I saw them live, and I was like, holy shit! The stage presence it's so important, first of all. Yes. But theirs is super incredible. But he is like the nicest person off stage. But on stage, you're like, he's scary. He's scary. Yeah, and it's like, these are people. Yeah. You know? They're not like just like a product, or, you know, a fucking show.
Which before you had access to like seeing them like that, all you knew was like whatever was on stage. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and which is I think is why like maybe people like are always saying like the days of like the rock stars over or whatever, but or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's because now like you know them as people like as well, and I'm like honestly that's kind of like I appreciate that way more than I would like idolizing someone and be like this person is like all like above everything and anything, like that's who they are at all times. Because not only that, like it puts so much pressure on that artist to like, hey, if I'm at the store, like, do you want me to act like you know, like that same like OT, like I can't like go buy milk or something like without like getting like people wanting to be in that character. But now because of all like social media and just other like avenues for access, like for people, I'm like, oh, okay, they're just like a regular person, just happens to be really good, like at this. And it adds again even like a level like of empathy to the people. I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm not gonna be a dickhead to someone, because like I feel like with celebrity and stuff like that, it allows you to disconnect from people as and won't consider, because I feel like when I was younger I would see like some celebrity have some sort of problem, I'm like, oh, like fuck them, like you know this and that, you know, like they're famous, they got money, this and that, blah, blah. Instead of being like, oh, like they're just having the same problems that I am, like it doesn't mean like they're not gonna get affected the same way,
right?
Which so I think it's definitely a move in the right direction, like to do that. But it adds that personal touch. It has people a little bit more confident to want to talk to you, to want to support your music. That alone, like if I find out like that my favorite artist is also like super nice, is that I'm like, oh, like I'm definitely like gonna want to support them like in whatever ways I can.
Even more.
Yeah. So absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I think that's great. So do you have any idea when your single's gonna release yet? Or are you keeping that under wraps still? You don't
no, I think we can.
There's no pressure.
I mean, I think we can probably spill it. I think we can.
This is completely up to you.
Yeah, no.
If you change your mind, we'll bleep it out.
Cut the shit. Yeah, no. So, my debut single, it's called "Welcome to the Freak Show."
Ooh, I like that.
Right, and it's about finding a place for people who've been, outcasted and all that sad shit, and they finally have found a place where they can be themselves and be the true, like, freaks that they are, whatever. So yeah, that's the debut single, and it will be out on July 1st.
July 1st? That is so soon. Great.
Big things coming soon.
Big things coming. See, you weren't lying about the big things coming soon, all right? This wasn't your typical band.
Right.
Big things coming. So July 1st, welcome to the Freak Show, debuting. That's exciting as hell. Like, I'm sure you're super excited.
I'm very excited, and we're filming the music video super soon. So I'm not gonna drop the music video with the single. I'm gonna wait a little bit.
Give them a little taste, and then be like, hey, you gotta wait for it. It's a little tease.
It'll be out a little bit afterwards. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I don't know if you want to plug anything else, but I would just want to appreciate you for stopping by. Honestly, this was really great. I'm excited as hell to hear all this music that you have coming out, plus like everything that you're doing with it, like already. Definitely keep in mind July 1st, Welcome to the Freak Show will be debuting, and then a music video soon after sometime. What's the Instagram is?
It's Viktoria XO Music, Viktoria with a K.
With a K.
You gotta spice it up.
Make it spicy.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, keep up with everything. You drop a lot of like really cool content that I've seen. So definitely check that out. And then check out the music, and we will, like, again, just send us anything that you need to promote it. We'll definitely be sharing all that stuff when it comes out.
Perfect.
But thank you again, Viktoria XO. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys later.